so glad I spent hours and hours on this build. I got all the materials that I needed and everything. Now it's time to get to work and build this. Ah, two black stone here. Or was it two deep slate here? Better log off and then check it. It'll only take 2 minutes to load back onto this world. This is totally not a tedious process that would definitely take forever, and there is no way I could possibly spend less time on it. No, this is the most efficient way and the best way to use my time. I think I'm gonna say that it did go in one and just eyeball it. However, welcome back to Schoolcraft. My name is Kabadaba, and oh boy, do I have a prepared and planned out video today. So I have been watching a little bit of Green and Mumbo lately. I took notes on a Google Docs. I got everything. And I feel qualified to say that I think that if you build your base the way that I did over there, you're doing it wrong. That's a real shame. You're doing it terribly. It's okay though, because I have 4 simple steps. I can get you to build any survival base on any scale. Now, step 1 is to plan and get everything nice and organized and know what you want to build. You want to give your build purpose. You want to give your base a theme. You want to select a point in the world where your base would be fit just the best. So, you can see for here, I started off by giving just a giant grass layer. And I always do this for whenever I'm trying to start a base because I get a feel for how big this space is going to be, how big I want it to be. You can see I was going to have it extend all the way down to here. And I said, actually, I just want it to be here and over there. And I thought it was going to only be this wide, and it turns out it's going to overlap even further. This is very important because if you started just in survival with no creative design at all, well, you might have to move a whole entire mountain. Now, according to Mumbo, you want to start in the middle of your base, which I suppose would be around here. But I've never done this, and so I will never do that, so I'm biased. Start in the front. I always start, this is my Season 4 base, by the way. I always start with the front, with the door, and then go along these walls right here, keeping basic shapes. Simple ones, large cubes, smaller rectangles, just basic angles. They're very simple to follow and build. So if we compare these large shapes here, like these large triangles, yeah, oh yes, triangles, yeah, trust me guys, I know geometry, I'm a professional, yeah, triangles. Alright, if we compare these large rectangles here, see, got it right now, like something like this dark blue, or this red, or even the green, we can kind of make this like a spine of a human body. That's quite gross. But since the spine is a support, see, you've had this whole thing planned out. I'm reading this off of Google Docs right now. Then we can make the rest of our build be just form a skeleton, which is why we're using multiple layers of concrete. So something like this would be an add-on from our skeleton. So when these ribs, so with these pillars, this floor layout, this little white building right here, and then, of course, these bridges and the tops of these. You always want to know what you want to build and what you like to build. Now, for step 2, you gotta use your idea and zero in on the small details. So what you want to do is you want to create block palettes. There's just a bunch of blocks that are all the same color. Use a lot of gradients to form something like that over there. But most importantly, if I was to build a wall like this, is to use simple shapes that would kind of give an overlying feature of what shape this build is going to be. Now, this admittedly looks really, really bad and stupid, but it just shows a simple shape. I'd want to have an indent here, a little bit that still goes up here, and just a general shape of how this wall is going to take shape, so it becomes from a giant rectangle to a more detailed and in-depth creation. So you want to focus on the medium scale, something like this, or like this, or these bridges once again, or even the tops of this tower. So after you've built your large area, skeleton of, or spine of it, like these large rectangles. No, sorry, let me correct myself. These large triangles. Right here, and these towers. That's when you add your medium builds. So like the towers. So like the bridges and these little bits. Once you've done all this, you want to take everything you've done. You want to take all your block palettes here. You want to take all the simple indents that you want to have, and then you just want to detail everything. Well, more detail than this. You want to add and start with like a simple wall. Like let's say I wanted, I don't know, a brick wall. This is just the first thing that I saw. This looks admittedly terrible. But if we had something that goes along like this, we would then detail. Another important part of any build is how you light it up. You never want in a survival build to just be walking around and then boom, creeper over there, boom, creeper right here. And then they blow up your build, you don't remember how it was, it's just a disaster and you don't feel like building it ever again. So you always want to keep hidden light, like that, mushroom light under a moss carpet. That's great for detailing on the ground here or in like a courtyard, such as right here. And another thing would just to be always keep in mind of lighting in your build. If you're working on an interior design, you always want to have some form of light source, whether it be hidden or right front and center. Because when you have light, it's a lot more convenient than walking in thinking, wow, I can't believe the base is done. This is so much fun. And then, oh, paper blows up this thing. You don't remember how it was built in. You don't feel like getting resources. So you leave it like that until the end of the season. And I put you in a slideshow and we all see that your little explosion. And we just think, wow, how lazy could you be? Even though we do the exact same thing. If you watch a lot of Hermitcraft, you'll notice one thing that every single Hermit does. Is that they'll just go, alright guys, we're going to start a time lapse. And then they go and they build something magnificent. They don't build a design creative, well, I'm sure they probably do, but they don't build a design creative, memorize 3 blocks, and then log out and log off every single 2.5 seconds. And the way that I hope they do that, because that would be kind of cool, but I don't think they do it that way, because I think they know a lot more than I do about building. And they probably have some way better way that I could think of, is to use graph paper. If you're able to build with graph paper, if you're able to graph a build, and you're able to sit there and just look at every single block and just graph the entire thing, then I have a strong feeling that you're definitely going to build this because you have enough motivation, and it's also way easier to build with graph paper than with any other way. Like, literally, you'd think, wow, this would be stupid. That would take way too much time. That's so boring. I'd never do that. How could that possibly save you time? Trust me, it does. If you spend 1 hour with graph paper, then you're probably able to build double the amount than if you did 1 hour memorizing 3 blocks and then placing them. Some helpful tips that I found for graph paper is, I'm actually going to look at my graph paper for jungle joint, or not jungle joint, my jungle temple, is to assign certain blocks with a certain depth, a certain number. So this is going to look really unprofessional and it looks super stupid. Me just holding the paper in. But you can see the numbers that are in the build. And you see things like the 1s, the 4s, 5s, everything, every little intricate thing. It's all assigned for how wide the build is. So if I had 1, then this might be 2, this could be 3, and this could be 4. Now, another tip for graphing is if you're going to graph something like stairs or walls, put a little symbol that you will memorize as like, oh, that means stairs, that means walls, that means whatever it is. It helps too. I always used to do this. Don't do it in pen. It was a terrible idea. I don't know why I even thought to do it in pen. Just saying out loud makes it seem stupid. Never do your graph paper in pen. And don't give yourself like a full blocked color in your graph paper. Like, never do that. It's a terrible idea. You could do a little circle or an X that symbolizes each block. And if you have something like this that has just so many little intricate details, like you got like 1 block of gravel here, 1 block of cobblestone here, don't bother graphing something like that and assigning a symbol for each thing. Just don't do that. Just detail it as you're building, but don't detail in the graph paper. It's a terrible waste of time. You know in your brain that this has to be detailed, that this isn't going to be blank, but you don't need to write every single individual block. It's a total waste of time, and that's the one thing I'll tell you should never do when you were graphing. Oh, and another thing, if you got something like stairs, then you could give them, I've used an equal sign with an arrow that would point down if they were like this, or up if they were like this. So here it would be equal sign with an arrow pointing down, equal sign with an arrow pointing up. And you can even write, like, just give it the general space, do one of the center columns, and then just write ×2 next to it. It's just so much easier. It saves you a lot of time, and you still know in your brain that that goes there. On the topic of your brain, though, you're going to remember most of the general pieces, so you shouldn't be too overly concerned with, do you have, like, oh, was this in one? Was it up one? It doesn't really matter. You're probably going to remember. You don't really need to know, oh, was... Actually, never mind, that's probably important. So don't stress too much about every single little intricate detail, because you'll probably remember. I mean, if you spend so long working on your base, you're going to get to know it a little bit. Or at least we should hope so. Now, I did just want to show off my binder that I have, Schoolcraft Season 4, and in it, all the things that I have. It's all organized, I have everything labeled, and it's all put in folders. And you can see all the graph paper that is put into each build, and everything that needs to go in to making a base. Alright, we've now hit stage 4. If you made it this far, you've probably been working on your base for around 1 whole month. You've been working on a design, you've been working on all the details, you've been graphing it, and you're finally ready to start building it in Survival. I just thought I should add, while you're doing graph paper, you might want to include a material list, because it's a terrible idea to just say, I might need some stone bricks in this, and then get like a double chest full of stone bricks, and just not have enough just at all. Or you completely miss one of the most important blocks, and once you've started building, you really don't have the motive to go back and get more resources. Like, it's just a terrible thing. You think, ugh, no, I'm not doing this. But say you do have all the materials you need. The way you're going to be able to make this is actually quite in a similar way, except instead of making like things like this, where you're going to use concrete, you're actually just going to grab, the blocks that you need with all your graph paper, and you're just going to build it out. You're going to build a main frame, like almost like a wire, around here, then you're going to fill it in with all the necessary details, and then you can go and you can detail it, and you can add whatever you need. If you watch the time lapses, you'll notice that I build, as I'm building, I'm putting in some of the stone bricks and cracked stone bricks and whatever, and then after I've done with that whole wall, I add in the leaves and moss and whatever it is that I need. Now, it's been about a month and a half. You've built your entire base, but it's not complete yet. And that reason is because you need to terraform. Now, depending on who you are and what you like to do in Minecraft, you might hate terraforming and you might love terraforming. But if you've done what I've done, you have this, a giant flat grass brick. What is this? What is in here? I don't know. Adam has been messing around in my world. And you can't leave it like this. This is terrible. So you gotta detail it. If your mountain doesn't line up, sorry, but you gotta build a new mountain. Just corporate policy. You gotta add custom trees, something that looks similar to this. This is my old Season 3 base, and you can see it has fallen trees, there's jungle slabs, there's coarse dirt added, there's moss everywhere. There's a whole bunch of lighting that's under these, like I said before. Oh, and if you're gonna build it, and you say, stream lights, that's a good idea. It's not a good idea. No. Stream lights take forever, and they're terrible to farm because they take so long. And you gotta go through all these trees, and you only get one per tree. And it's just so much easier to use glowstone. See, I made about halfway through using streamlights before switching to glowstone. Oh, it helps if you add a cute little waterfall, a little pond, some drip leaf, Oh, grass blocks too. I mean, path. So, there you have it. You've now completed your entire survival base. You have it all done. You're really proud of it. Hooray. Good job to you. I can't promise that it looks good. That's not what this was about. This is about actually making it, so. If it looks like trash, don't blame me. I did actually want to say one thing before I left, and no one cares for it, so you can probably just skip off now. But this little design right here, and this over here, was off the design of the jungle, not the jungle temple, the forest temple from Ocarina of Time. So, you know, use your pictures. Alright. Well, with that said, don't associate with the Old School Craft channel. I hope you enjoyed and that you use graph paper for your builds. Goodbye. Well, with that